Hi everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're just past noon. Great. So my name is Kelsey Stam Jimenez and I work with the Mansfield Center, which is just down the hall. Thank you so much for coming today to listen to some of our fellows who are in a U.S. Department of State program called the Waisili Professionals Program, Waisili being an acronym for the Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, which is an initiative from the White House to work with young leaders like Anwar and Sotiri. So I'd like to introduce both of them. They are both going to speak today. First, Anwar about the future of democracy in Thailand, and then Sotiri about the same subject in Cambodia. So Anwar is a researcher in southern Thailand for a local nonprofit called the Pattani Forum. And this nonprofit monitors the situation between Muslim-Buddhist conflict in southern Thailand. Additionally, he is working on completing his PhD. Anwar is here in Missoula working with the Jeanette Rankin Peace Center to learn more about interethnic conflict and conflict resolution, about democracy, and how to engage diverse audiences. So thank you, Anwar, today for speaking. And then Sotiri, I'd like to introduce Sotiri. She is from Phnom Penh in Cambodia. She works for BBC Media Action. However, her work specifically focuses on the youth unemployment problem in Cambodia. There's a huge youth bulge in the country and also just really a lack of opportunities for youth in gaining skills that will help prepare them for the job market. And she is here working with Missoula Job Service during her time, but will also speak about her experiences and what it's like being in Cambodia in a time that has been somewhat tumultuous over the past years. So, Anwar, we'll get started with you. I would also just like to mention that there are some materials on the back of the table if you're interested in any other Mansfield Center programs, including an upcoming course, climate change course in Vietnam, as well as some other opportunities to be engaged. Thank you, Anwar. Oh, one more thing. I'd like to thank MCAT. I have so many things to mention. MCAT, who is recording this session as part of their media assistance grant. Thank you, MCAT. Okay, Anwar.
Thank you very much, Kelsey, for the introductions. Do you hear me? No. Yes, and everyone for coming for this presentation. Well, the topic actually is quite wide, right? Talking about democracy around the world and then focusing on Southeast Asia. So as Kelsey has just mentioned, I will focus my presentation on the situations in Thailand. And mainly I will take a conflict in southern Thailand as an indicator of how, Thailand is doing well with a democracy. And yeah, basically, well, I will start with, where is Thailand, in the world, and what are the challenges that, Thai society has been, struggling with democratization. And then, yeah, how did we get there? So I will just brief on that before I move to the conflict in southern Thailand. And I will try to link that, well, if Thailand, become, more democratized, the conflict in southern Thailand will be more easy to be resolved. And perhaps I will just, present in a few minutes about my organizations, Pattani Forums, As a forum, that we are trying to get people around who has been working as NGO, or working in non-government sectors to come and share idea, work together, and or to collaborate, as what Betsy, in the Peace Center trying to do. So, because, in that area is quite complicated, and every violence, happen, almost every week, I would say. So there are much work to be done, and we are trying to get together as a member of CSO, or CSO means, civil society organization. So we are trying to band together in order to push forward, to stop the violence, which is kind of negative peace, and trying to promote a kind of positive peace as well. So that's perhaps what I'm going to say for now. Well, then when we talk about democracy, right, one of the index that you would go and consult would be, there are many actually, but one of them is, the Freedom House, right, is about how freedoms our world is now, right, and where Thailand is in these pictures. And you can see that, right, in that color. It means that, well, we are not really free, That means we have a problem of two things, political right and civil right in our society. And you can see that U.S. has, a more, seem to be kind of more democratic in other part of the world in 2019, even though you have, this kind of administrations controlling the country now. So Thailand is not doing well, actually, in terms of democratizations and the freedom rates. And when you look at, in a smallest pictures within Southeast Asian, as a region, you see that Thailand is not doing well as well. There are 2 or 3 countries that are doing well. One is Timor-Leste, which is, a new nation state. And the second one is Philippines. And the third is Singapore. But Thailand and Myanmar seem to be having a similar kind of, a level that they are, having been through. And perhaps Cambodia as well, that you can see from here. So we are struggling, to have some kind of political transitions, from some form of authoritarianism, I would say, to perhaps more democracy. And this is what I have just said, that we have 2 main problems, based on the report of the Freedom House. The first one is a political right, and the second one is civil liberties. But, well, looking in the deeper layers, well, I would like to pinpoint 3 main challenges in this 15-minute presentation. The first one, I think, we have a problem with the political structures. The second one, well, we have a problem with the civic engagement, the way we're trying to engage our society, and the way we has been trying to negotiate with the state itself. And the third one, the violence, which is, happening in southern Thailand, which, has been there for 15 years, I would say. The second wave of the violence, occurred in 2004. Yeah. So after 9/11, around 3 years. So that is the second wave started in this episode of violence. So in the first problems, I would say that, well, I'm here for around almost 3 weeks. I've been trying to understand how, the politics or governance here look like. And I would say that, well, this is a huge difference between you and us. That is, well, we in Thailand, we have a kind of strong state, or you can call it as statism, That means that the state itself do not acknowledge that they cannot do anything. They cannot, like in that kind of society, where the democracies has not been fought quite hard. Yeah. So the state, or at that time the king, just give up his power to the people. But then it has not been a kind of revolution. That means the king is still there at the top of the political structures, right? And based on that traditions, we have a state-led development. And that is kind of strong state. This means, well, society, if you want to go against us, no, be careful. You can be killed easily, And whatever you want to develop in the society, tell us as a state. We will do it for you. So that means that if there is a social problem, and And if you cannot do it, well, you can expect the state to do it. And state will, even though they cannot do everything and they can't do anything to solve the social problem, right? But they don't want to acknowledge that they can't. And that's why, you know, the way that they form a kind of public policy is has been always top down. And Thailand, you know, Thailand is a unitary state system. That means every big policy, or perhaps small policy as well, in the rural areas, going to be taken in Bangkok. Even our governors, here you can elect, you can vote for your governors, right? Who want to be the mayors here is going to be elected, right? But in our society, no, the governor of the province will be appointed. So that means the big policy, the important policy, will be delegated from Bangkok, not from ground, not from, you know, the provinces. So that is the way political structures has been working in Thailand. So any change that going to be happen, it should be changed from above, not from below. And perhaps I think that is the reason why we cannot, one of the main reasons that why we cannot get rid of being some kind of, you know, de facto democracy yet. In that sense, well, we have, you know, Duncan McCargo, for instance, he's a professor on political affairs, but his specialization is on Thai politics. He coined terms that, well, Thailand has been governed by network monarchy, you know. So that means everything, you know, that has been running in our country, you know, have to go back to the top. And, you know, who's the top? Sometimes, you know, we can hardly mention it because it is not safe to say. Yeah. So because of that, you know, our society has been securitized. What does it mean by being securitized? Well, I think in Southeast Asia, we are the countries that, you know, had experience of military coup quite, you know, amount of time. And the recent one has been in 2014. So you can see that, you know, almost every 5 years, Thailand, you know, has experience with military coup. And how are you going to develop or democratize the society? You know, when you want to, you know, move the society with some form of, you know, people-led engagement, then military come to stop you. Say, no, you know, it's too dangerous for our structures. I mean, structures is mean, you know, more than the structures, but somebody at top. So you are going to cause a danger for our traditions, for the way we has been governed, you know. So because of that, you know, most of the democratizations has been suppressed. And well, and because of we have some kind of strong state, it does not encourage NGO to flourish. Because, you know, when I say that, well, when I first say to people here that, oh, I'm working with not NGO, I say I'm working with CSO. You know, CSO means civil society organization. We don't like to say NGO, you know, because N here means non, right? But non in Thailand means anti. You know, if you are working with NGO, that means, oh, you are anti-government. So you are anti-state. You know, it's happened to me, you know, many times. And, you know, once that I remember, I was taking a flight from the south, Hat Yai, to Bangkok. And the one who was sitting next to me was, you know, he's an executive, you know, working with the government. And he was asking me, what do you do here? You know, where are you going or something like that? And I said, oh, I'm working with NGO. And he was, you know, shocked. Huh? Are you working with NGO? Why you are so bad, you know, to do that? This is not a good job, you know. So why you have to always anti-government? You know, that is the question. And it's not it's not positive to say that, well, you are working with NGO. So we use another word, which is, civil society organization. That means, well, when you are civil society, you're going to follow whatever the state, the grand policies of the state. You are not trying to push something, and that's going to be very difficult. And that's why the government itself do not open the floor, and do not support the public space like what you have here. So that is the discouragement for the NGO in our society. And even if we have a people who are working in this field, they don't have a lot of fun, because funding is quite difficult, and most of NGO, I would say, has been external funded. And what does it mean? It means that when you will not be able to get the funding anymore, then your organization is going to winter away, right? There is no sustainability for doing in that field. And well, to connect, this one, I have 4 minutes to finish my presentation. Well, I just try to finish within these 2 slides then. That I would say that within these 10 years, Thailand has 2 big problems, and that is related to violence. The biggest problem is about, about the general problems, which is the polarizations, political polarizations, which usually, happen in Bangkok between those who support pro-democracy movement and those who support pro-conservative forces. So there has been there for so long, but I'm not going to touch on that, because now, well, the government has been controlled by the pro-conservative force, and it seems that in next 20 years we're going to be with them, But another, key issues is the conflict of violence in southern Thailand, which has been a kind of, armed conflict between the state and the separatist movement. So I will not go in depth, in these pictures, but I want to mention that, you can see that the mysterious place. I just have, a few minutes to mention this in the previous presentation, that normally, Thai people will view these 3 provinces as a mysterious place with mysterious people, because why? Because they are non-Buddhist, they are Malay as ethnic, and they practice Islam. That's mainly, and they are minority in that sense. And as you said that most of the discussion about Thailand is revolve around the concept of nation, religions, and monarchy. And that is how we get here now. I want just to pinpoint to the red numbers is that, well, we have been through military coup, from 2006 and 2014 and 2019, just election this year, that, well, we got a lot of electoral fraud, and unfortunately that, well, pro-conservative will manage to win the elections. And we can say that this period of Thailand is a kind of consolidation of pro-conservative force. And yeah, so perhaps I have another 2 minutes now to mention about the conflict in southern Thailand. I would say that, well, this conflict has been a kind of dilemma, between, one scholar has said that, his name is Wankade Chekman. He said that, well, if you want to define this problem, you can define it within, one sentence. Because these people neither can assimilate themselves with the majority Thais, nor can they separate from the Thai territory. So how can they, survive? Now, their strategy is to use violence to communicate with the state. Because as you said, that a strong state, they don't want to listen a lot, because by listening to a lot of people, you take times, to implement, even to have a policy. You need some time. But, when you involve with a few people, well, you can just have a quick decision, quick process of policy making, right? And that would be easier and quicker for the state, for those who have power. And yeah, so the state does not really want them to have, you know, a kind of a space that they can claim themselves that, well, they are separate group, because now the government do not even recognize them. So I think one of the things is recognition is important in order to start a dialogue about democracy. So I just quickly go about how civic engagement is about. Actually, we have a lot of international organizations involved in those areas, and we have around 200 local NGO working with them, you know, and working in 5 different functions with 3 different engagement. So I just go quickly, you know, you can just have a sense of this, where are they from and what are they working on. You know, the majority are donors, and, you know, USAID is one of the main funder that get involved in that area as well. So these are how they get engaged with the local NGO. The first level is the government, the state, you know, and the second level is about the intermediary organization, and the third one is a grassroots level. So, well, there are some solutions that they're trying to work with. The first is, well, they are trying to get autonomy, but, you know, within the atmospheres that I just mentioned, where the state controls everything, it is, you know, to say that we want autonomy is going to be illegal. You can be, you know, caught easily and put in the jail if you want autonomy, let's say. Yeah, and the second thing that we are trying to do, to push, is to desecuritize. Means in southern Thailand, there are a lot of, you know, checkpoints which has been controlled by military. So it's just like concentration camps. You know, when you go there, you have to pass, you know, many checkpoints. So we are trying to tell them that, no, you know, the situation now has been different from before. You know, military should go back, you know, to their camp, you know, not staying in southern Thailand, and trying to offer some solution for them. And peace dialogue is there as well since 2013. So what we are trying to do, you know, as an NGO, first we're trying to empower ourselves, because as I have said, it's not easy to survive when we depend on the external funding. And Pattani Forum has been there for 9 years now, which quite long time, because, you know, many NGO has been winter away, and many new NGO, when they got new funding, they just, you know, re-establish or something like that. But we were there since I think for 9 years already. So the main thing that we are trying to do is to get engaged, to engage ourselves with the local people and national politics. And, you know, we encourage our members in organization to get involved with international engagement, like, you know, this kind of thing as well. And because we usually get the funding from outside, we usually have a good relation with the, you know, like foreign embassies in Bangkok and international organizations as well. So we usually, you know, have done 3 main things. You know, first is trying to empower ourselves. We have a lot of, you know, forums, debates, and conference, workshop as well, trying to empower ourselves. And what we have kept, you know, doing is to conduct research, trying to offer a solution, you know, and trying to engage others and to present what would be possible, you know, in existing circumstances. And perhaps the thing that we keep doing, you know, for a long time is to get the youth, Muslim and Buddhist, you know, to be together, have some activities, you know, make friends. We don't want them to be torn away by the conflict. So we try to have a camp, you know, once a year, bringing a Buddhist and Muslim to be together, you know, do some activities, and peacemakers somehow as well, kind of training. So we did that in order to make a, you know, Buddhist and Muslim feel that, well, they can be friends with each other, so that, you know, when the government and the insurgents can agree that they can, you know, stop using violence, then our society can just rebuild easily with the trust, But now trust has been lost, has been destroyed. So that is a big job for us that we've been trying to do, and this is, one of our reports that we have been trying to produce. So that means every year we have some report for the national and international audience. So that is about, perhaps what I would say for this presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay. Let me see if I can figure it. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Oh, good time. Okay, there you go.
Okay, good afternoon once again. I think my presentation will be just very short because I will just give a brief summary of what is happening in Cambodia in terms of the democracy and the development in Cambodia as an overall. So, probably maybe some of you here have heard or visited Cambodia. So Cambodia is in the southern portion of Indochina in the Southeast Asia, and currently based on the up-to-date data that the Ministry of Planning they research, so we have about estimate of 16 million population now. We're a small country, but we have a lot of people, and again, we're not that really far different from Thailand because we neighbors country. So our religion is mainly Buddhism. Around 95% of our population is Buddhist, but the rest of it we also have varieties of religion as well, including Muslim, Christians, and a diversity of religion in our country as well. But mainly we Buddhists. Also, just to give you a brief of our context as well, Cambodia is one of the key country that focusing on agriculture. So agriculture like rice, any types of thing that mainly imported here, so mainly is from Cambodia. It is a big economy. The key development, so probably some of you aware of it about Cambodia in the past, like we gone through a really hard time. I'm not born in that generation, but my mom and my grandparents, they've been telling me about it, and everybody was like, at our generation we thought like, no way, it's never happened like that. How would people being cruel to the same human being? So yeah, we went through a hard time, which is Khmer Rouge regime. As you know, it's happened since in between 1975 to 79. And at that time, a lot of people were killed, around 2 million. And because of the power, because they're just crazy. I just say in overall. So I can give you a brief from what my families told me. Like, they use the old generation as the hostage because they educated person, and those people, they want to kill all the person that is educated. So and they use the younger generation at that time, probably my mom generation, because she was small at that time. I can't imagine like those small kids, they carry the gun and kill the elder people when their boss telling them they do wrong, kill them. So that's something, it's hard to believe, but you know, kids at that time, they don't know what is right, what is wrong. As long as someone tell them to do it, they do it. So since that generation, a lot of people were killed, old people. Then we as the young generation exist. So around 65% of the population is the young generation between 15 to 30 years old in Cambodia. So we have a high percentage of young people right now in Cambodia. And also, in terms of political structure after the Khmer Rouge regime, the head of the government nowadays in Cambodia is the Prime Minister. He's probably the longest serving person in Asia, like since 1985 until now. So it's more than 35 years, which is quite long time just in one position that he's been doing. So in Cambodia, the election is happening every 5 years, and political format in Cambodia is democracy. And in terms of the economic development as well, Cambodia, we have our goal from moving ourselves from a middle income countries to the upper middle income countries by 2030. So this is how the economics has been developing in terms of theory base and somehow practical as well. But along the side, there's a lot of issue that is happening in Cambodia right now and currently. So this is the key issues that I want to raise up here. That is the main one, but inside of it, there's a lot of small items that I'm gonna share with you all. First, the key challenge in terms of the development, because the democracy in Cambodia is not stable. So health system is one of the key challenges in Cambodia as well. Still very limited. The health system condition, it's not trustable, I can say that, because I'm saying it's not in terms of like, I'm not on any political side, I'm just in a neutral way. But from my observations and the experience, mainly we don't trust the health system. Only the people who cannot afford the high standard one, then they have no choice. We have a hospital, state hospital. We have international hospital in Cambodia, but mainly for the middle income or the high income families, when they're sick, the first choice that they choose is the international standard one, which require you to pay high costs. Why? Again, because the health system is not really been structured. The quality that people don't trust in terms of their service, and also the quality in general. I mean, like their services, the knowledge of the people who's working in the medical field as well, and also some of the scholar who graduated from abroad on doctor or medical field, they tend to choose to work in the private sector as well, because the income is much more than they can get than they work in the state one. Education system is also still limited. As you know, because the Khmer Rouge has been really killed a series of educated person. So since then, the education system is very low. Back in the last couple of years, people don't really value education at all. That's why a lot of families that living in the rural in Cambodia, their education is very low. I can give an example, like families that we go and do the survey. They don't even have a chance to go to school at all during their generations. And when their next generation as their child, they don't even like trying to encourage their children to go to school, because they've been doing this kind of like daily work that they've been doing at the field, or what they normally do for their daily life, just for their incomes for their families. So when they struggle in poverty, education is not come first. Money is come first. So that's a big issue as well. But now education system is a little bit better, but I can say it's not still the best yet. There's still a lot of things that need to work on the system itself. Because my field that I'm working back in Cambodia is with the youth and economics development. So one of the gaps that I can see that young people facing currently is the skill gap. When they graduate from school, they struggle to find the right jobs for them. Mainly, high percentage of young people who get a job, it's not the job that they wanted to do or they passionate about at all. They just want to do it because of the money. They need the money to support their school, to support their living. But if we ask them like, is this something that you love to do? This is something about jobs and career. Is this something like a career that you're gonna do it for a long time? And when you do it, it's gonna make you happy? It's gonna make you have a long sustainability on your employment career life? Some of them they say, not really. But then go back to the transition between school and employment. Do we have enough people there to give them advice as a counseling program for them to discuss and negotiate what you want to do, what you're passionate about? No one there to give advice or discuss at all. Parents, low education, they don't know how to give advice to the right job to their kids at all. So we need a system in the education to ensure that they know what they're ready about when they graduate. Limitation of freedom of expression, especially on the human rights and media limited space. In here, I can just give a short one, but probably you're going to have a lot of questions to ask me later on. So human rights issues in Cambodia is very bad now. People cannot talk any sensitive issues in regard of the human rights things. If they dare to talk in the public, they're going to get arrested. A lot of people, they're trying to do a campaign to raise about human rights and things, and they fail to success because it's very sensitive issues to our government. Media limited space. A few of the international news back in Cambodia, like Cambodia Daily, because they write an article that is very sensitive to our government, and their news agent has been shut down, and they have to get out of the country. They no longer be able to have the right to establish as the news agent in Cambodia anymore. Because a lot of things that they mention, that is something happening in society, which the government might not be really happy to see about. So they need to ensure that what they establish is not something really biased or saying bad thing about political at all. With the NGO, a lot of non-government organization has been working in Cambodia, and some of them working on the sensitive issues like human rights, labor right violations, and things like that. Some of those organizations also has been restricted with the Lango law. Lango law is mean law for the NGOs. So before the NGO, they register with the Ministry of Interior to be able to implement the activity in our countries. So since last few years, when the Lango law came out, meaning that they have restrictions on their implementation in the countries. Everything, every activity that they do, they have to report it to the government. But, you know, some of the activity on the human rights, some of them is more private and sensitive, right? So they just want to have their own privacies to implement the activity to achieve their goal and outcomes. But somehow, if they need to report these activity to the government, somehow it's very struggle, and it's really a big strength for them to implement their activity to support the human rights issues there. And also, not just only reporting activity, but also budget as well, which is like a bit of touch in their core of the activity. Youth development. So in regard of the youth involvement, I can raise two key issues. One is about youth economics development. So when the political in Cambodia is not stable, it's not a real democracy at all. So youth and economics opportunity, it must have a strength. It struggle to ensure young people they have a better economic security, because opportunity and chances is very limited. They have their own boundaries to access, to get the knowledge. So that is one of the big issues. And the other one is about the civic engagement for young people in terms of political or the other involvement in the society development is still limited as well. There's still a lot of, currently there's still a lot of young group of young people who is the activists. They try so hard to get involved in the political and to see the real democracy in Cambodia. But, you know, challenges has happened. They got threatening with the work that they do, because activism, like, they do anything, and, you know, young people, they hot-blooded. Every time they want to do something, when they see something is not right, they want to make it, something is not right, they want to make it right, because they have the passion toward it, and they're a dynamic force of change. So they're trying to gather, mobilize each other to do it, but with threatenings and things like that, but they still do it anyway. So, but still, like, a very limited space for young people to involve in the civic space. And one last thing, how many minutes left I have?
You can finish up with your last thing.
And one last thing, sorry, I'm touching a bit like in the recent situation, because something is happening in Cambodia this weekend as well, which is quite interesting, probably on the news. As you know, like in Cambodia, during the vote, there's a strong government, which is currently our prime minister is in position, and there's another party as well, which we call them as the opposition party. And the opposition party, they have a lot of support from the citizen to support what is right, and because they're not happy with what is the current leading in our country. So they're trying to see the change. They thought there's going to be a change if they trying to support the opposition party. But then just before the election last year, the one of the biggest opposition party has been dissolved just right before the election start. So one of the strong opponent has been dissolved already. So I'm the winner. While the rest of the party, which is like, they have their own vision and mission as well, but the only opposition party that the whole citizen is supporting has been dissolved. So all of the leader has been deported. They need to escape for their safety to other countries. But since then, until now, they had a lot of campaign to do the mobilization, and they trying to get back to the country to demand for real democracy. So back to the story a bit. A lot of labor violation happen in Cambodia because we are the main industries. We have a lot of factories worker there. We export a lot of textile to the US, to the European countries, and there's a lot of issues in terms of labor violations. So organization in Cambodia that work on the human rights issues, they were trying to make a campaign to European countries and America as well on one of the law, which is called Everything But EBA. So mainly all the export things that we export from Cambodia to different countries is tax-free. But the EBA one, because we want the foreigner countries know that if you still accept all this product from Cambodia, which is all those products is violate the labor right. So it means you also supporting violate the labor rights as well with all the Cambodian citizens who's suffering back there. So if you're supporting them, then we need you to do something on this EBA. Take additional tax from that. Stop giving tax-free. So that's why the opposition party, they're trying to seek support from these European countries to put pressures back in our government on these EBA things. So if you want to negotiate on that, then trying to loosen a bit on those issues by allowing this opposition party back in the country. There has been done a lot of work with negotiations and things. So this Saturday, the 6th, I'm a bit confused with the time in Cambodia and back in the US now. So the 9th is the Independence Day in Cambodia. And the opposition party, they choose this day to fight for another second Independence Day to have a real democracy. But right now, so it's like 3 days left before the 9th come. Our government was trying to disseminate all the troops, police troops, all across the border and at the airport already. So somehow, I'm saying it's not to make everybody scary, like nothing bad in Cambodia as long as like nothing involved with political at all. Our economics is good, our situation is good as long as like we're not touching with any political or talking bad or talking in front of him, then that is fine. So the view from the society, just seeing that from the neutral perspective, doing this kind of thing, somehow it's showing like either first our country is safe or not. Second things like, is there any negotiation space that we all can work together? Because I believe not only Cambodia, but mainly for us, we just want to ensure that we all have peace, we all develop together, and our country just develop together for a better future. That's it for me. And if you have any more questions, please ask me later.
Over our 12:50 promised stop time, but if you do have questions and you have time to stay, our speakers are happy to answer any questions that you have, but of course feel free to go. Oh.